everyday Australian working hard to make a living, paying taxes, contributing to this beautiful state of ours. Now, what has been very unhelpful, and this is the opportunity that we had this morning to actually express our concerns to the Premier. We had an honest conversation that this divisive rhetoric has to stop. Language is important. We heard this from our politicians. They said language is very important. And because of that, hate speech laws were legislated. But how on earth can you have a certain politician that demonizes an entire faith group, 1.8 billion people, that's a quarter of humanity, by saying that there are no good Muslims, something to that effect? Now, I voiced my concerns to the Premier that had any one of us said something similar, that I don't think there are any good Christians, for example, no one of any sound mind would say that. Likewise, I don't think there are any good First Nations people. I don't think there are any good Jewish people. Imagine the legal repercussions. Imagine the outrage. But yet, Islamophobia has become so normalized, it's become mainstream. So these were some of the concerns that we had, and we voiced them to the Premier, who was gracious enough to listen. And we also thanked the WA Police for their great job, that they were able to prevent what could have been a mass casualty event, something that would have been a stain on our state. So we hope that going forward, we as a community will be able to work together to build a better Australia, to build a better state, by understanding one another, by helping one another. And one thing that I added to the Premier is that when we have good people that remain silent, when people are being attacked, whether it be the schoolgirl on the bus that's wearing a headscarf, that's visibly Muslim, and because of this irresponsible rhetoric that we hear from certain segments of media and also politicians, so vulnerable people like that schoolgirl on the bus is going to face the brunt of this reckless language and the outcomes that it will deliver. So on this basis, we think that most Australians, they're not extremists. Most Australians are very good. The qualities of giving everyone a fair go. I think most of Australia is sensible, and that we all realise that we need to actually stand together on this one. After the Bondi incident, this would have been a good time for the whole community to get together and to eradicate extremism in all its forms. But unfortunately, we feel that that incident was politicised, and like it's happened before and it's happening now, it's convenient to make Muslims or migrants a punching bag for what's happening. So that's all I have to say for today. I'll pass it on to you.
Our briefing today should reassure Western Australians. The actions of WA Police, the AFP and our National Security Agency demonstrate that our institutions are vigilant, are capable, are proactive, and the disruption of an alleged act before harm occurred is evidence that there are parts of the system that are working as they should. And Western Australia is a safe state. And it's not because threats never emerge, but it's because when they do, they are addressed lawfully, they're addressed very decisively and very professionally. It is, of course, concerning that the places of worship were allegedly identified, houses of faith, whether mosques or churches or synagogues, are meant to be spaces of reflection, of peace, of service to the broader community. they should never become the objects of hostility. We would be naive to suggest that prejudice is not existing in modern society. It does. And when prejudice is combined with extremist ideology, it becomes dangerous. And that is why vigilance, both institutional and societal, is essential. But today is not a day for alarm. It's a day that affirms the strength of our institutions, the maturity of our community leadership, and the resilience of our social fabric. Our WA Police and the state agencies have been able to stop an act before it occurs. And that's a win for Muslim Australians. That's a win for the state of Western Australia. And it's a win for all Australians. We know that Muslim Western Australians are deeply woven into the story of this state. We contribute across every sector, in education, in health, in business, civil service, and community life. And our future is very connected to the future of Western Australia. And moments like this remind us that security and social cohesion are not opposing forces. They advance together. We'll continue to work constructively with government, with law enforcement, in order to ensure that our communities and Muslim Australians remain confident, remain engaged, and remain united. Western Australia's strength lies not in the absence of many challenges, but in the way we face them, where we collaborate, we constructively cooperate, and we face these challenges calmly, lawfully, and together. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Salim or Mohammed?
Questions for Mohammed?
You mentioned the language used by some politicians. I understand you don't have a police side of this, but you were referring to force enhancement. I think it's not rocket science.
Any other questions for Mohammed? Questions for Tanya? Or to the Police Commissioner, quite happy to dodge any tricky questions. Questions?
Just chasing, how did that man come to the attention of police, just in reference to the Bindoon incident? Any specifics that you can give, or?
My understanding is it came via intelligence agencies, but I'll ask the Police Commissioner just to cover off on that. Thanks very much.
Answer that question. We actually haven't disclosed the source of the intelligence for reasons being that, look, we always receive intelligence from a range of sources, but it was specifically in relation to the group on the Telegram app. We didn't have any other intelligence other than that.
And this is the second incident now of some level of white supremacy sort of infiltrating our system. What is, I guess, happening in WA? It's become such a prevalent thing, not to say that it is, but two terrorist acts in a couple of months is quite substantial.
I would say that it's not prevalent white supremacy now in two incidences. I'd say that exists on the internet in large numbers. These are two incidents that have progressed to either committing a terrorist attack or preparing to commit a terrorist attack. And I think that's what our community should be fighting against. After the Bondi terrorist attack, I stood with Australian leaders here in Perth, and good Australian leaders. After January 26, I stood with good Australian leaders, and today I stand with good Australian leaders. They represent overwhelmingly the good people of Australia. Sadly, there is a very, very, very small minority that seek to do harm to all of us. And that's what we must all work against. And I thank the Muslim leaders behind me, who are the Australian leaders I'm talking about. Because I know here in this very mosque that they preach love and kindness and respect. That is Australian to me. I tell you what's not Australian: preaching hate, saying hateful things and preaching division. That's the least Australian thing we could ever have.
Can I just ask about the incident at the mosque that happened? I believe it was this mosque. I understand you don't have too many details, but what can you tell
Yes,
us?
so look, I'm waiting for some more information. I understand there was a white inert powder at the front here on the footpath. We're just doing a CCTV canvass that was reported to police. We don't know if in fact was targeted against the mosque, but certainly given the location, we will do an investigation, and we are doing an investigation.
And the white inert, that's the non-suspicious substance? that
Correct,
was-
yes.
Okay.
Just relation disturbance as well. Was there something that happened before that?
Well, look, I don't have all the details. It's only happened overnight, but certainly we've got further detectives working on it as we speak with the State Security Investigation Group, given the time frame after our press conference yesterday.
At the State Security Investigation, we're talking about the family members